Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome from across this gorgeous planet. We are one church, many paths, one mountain, where our mission is what Barbara Marx Hubbard and Dr. Mark Goffney call the planetary awakening in love through a unique self symphony. And together we declare that the last day of the old face of evolution is honored as the first day of the new face of creation. I am Christina Amelong, the co-executive producer of One Church, along with Kirsten Zohar, and I am so delighted to be here with you today. I welcome all the new people. Please do share that you are new in the chat box. We want to hear from you. When you do chat to everyone by checking that your chat settings say all panelists and attendees and not just all panelists. Use the chat function to say hi, to let us know where you're from, and to resonate the Dharma throughout the service. In One Church, we are connected, we are whole, and we're expressions of the entire process of creation. We are activating a new humanity, and we are awakening as a new species, Homo Amor, the fulfillment of Homo sapien. We are a church, a synagogue, a mosque, a temple, a zendo. We are all of it. No one is excluded. Everyone is included, and we come together to attune to the evolutionary impulse awakening within us. Welcome home, everyone. We are overjoyed to be with you today in week 188. Let everyone know about One Church. We're doing this primarily through word of mouth. Barbara always talked about each of us having a family of 10 here in church, and it's a really wonderful experience. So I wholly encourage each of you to be part of your family of 10 and know that leadership around church is a sacred opportunity. On YouTube, we are One Church, Many Paths, One Mountain. On Facebook, we are facebook.com, onechurch.world. And right now, we are live on Facebook. So something you can do is take a moment and look at your notifications and share that link so that you are sharing live on your own Facebook page. After church, we will send you an email to invite your friends and family, and do forward that email right away. Spend time on our website, www.onechurch.world. On the top menu of the home page or the bottom of each page, you will find the membership link. With that, I give you a little bit of what to expect over this next hour. We begin with the Dharma recap, then Dr. Mark sets our intention, then David resonates the evolutionary love code that we are working with, and then we move into prayer, then our sermons, and then when we close at the top of the hour or whenever, we bring everyone on for our goodbyes. Every week for several years, Mark wrote what he called evolutionary love codes. Mark and Barbara had studied the codes together, often comparing them to Barbara's 52 codes for conscious self-evolution. These codes grew out of their radical commitment over 100 collective years, crystallizing the new story of humanity and, quote, evolving the course of consciousness and culture, which is the source code of love, unquote. A lot of the main teachings in church are also in books by Dr. Mark Offney and Barbara Marx Hubbard. For instance, here's Emergence, the shift from ego to essence. And it's a powerful handbook for unlocking your highest potential while offering evidence of the power within all of us to assist in global evolution. Each church is a standalone, and every week's church builds on the week before. One church, many paths, one mountain welcomes you and is radically committed to telling the new story. So here goes the Dharma recap from last week. Sense making beyond the infodemic, first principles towards the ultimate conspiracy of reality. We've got separate selves as voters and as consumers, yet we don't know how to vote and we don't know how to make decisions. False flags arouse us to move along the way, but not because there is one bad actor behind the scenes. We're disinformed, and we're getting disinformed from all sides because different separate self agendas and different groups of separate self agendas drive the information process. Our global economy, created by the simple rules of separate self, a dog-eat-dog of win-lose metrics, is what we call a hyper object, where no one can do sense making individually because it's too complicated. It's dangerous. It's the field itself, the Success 2.0 win-lose metrics field, the field of unlove, the emergent properties of the field of contraction, leading us towards a world in which we can't actually find our way. So painful. The dystopia, the unbridled greed, the separate self-power games, those are all real, and they are generating hyper objects that in a period of 25 to 30 years can destroy reality as we know it in terms of individual freedom and the genuine sense of human intimacy. Yet, there is crazy, wonderful, good news. We can affect the field. We can walk in the wide places. We can feel the expansion, and we can feel the possibility of possibilities. The emergence of new evolutionary love codes, simple rules that generate a new field, unlike anything you've ever experienced before, that can generate a self-organizing universe, self-organizing through unique selves, people who recognize themselves as unique configurations of eros and evolutionary love. Reality is a big conspiracy, and the big conspiracy of reality is that the deepest structures of reality are actually conspiring towards the good, the true, and the beautiful. The evolution of love is inherent in reality. The masses never want to go to war. The masses intuit homo amor. We have to articulate it. We have to make it real. We have to make it possible. We affect the field by introducing a better set of first principles or simple rules or value structures of reality that are disclosed by the best, leading, and subtle and speculative minds and hearts. We weave a whole larger than the sum of its parts. The rules are simple rules backed by the universe. not imposed. They're the nature of reality itself. And from this, we get the new Dharma. We're unique selves. We're unique expressions of the entire field of reality. We're irreducibly unique expressions of the love intelligence, love beauty, and love desire that's the initiating and animating eros of all that is, that lives in us, as us, and through us, that never was, is, or will ever be other than through us. As such, we are needed by all that is. And our gift is desired, chosen, recognized, adored, and loved by all that is. Dharma. Dharma is intimacy. Dharma is the mother. Our core identity, we create for the sake of the good, the true, and the beautiful. Our desire is to be significant through our unique sense making, our playing our instrument in the unique self symphony, and our adding something to the music of reality no one but us could ever add. We give our unique gift in a way which we realize the entire field is affected by it. Power is beautiful. And with that, I invite us to more deeply enter into the holy and sacred space of one church, many paths, one mountain. And I turn my word to you, beloved Dr. Mark.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh my God, what a week we had last week, right? And what were we doing last week? Christina Taheli, what a gorgeous Dharma recapitulation, right? It sounds so much better when you say it than when I say it, right? You're gorgeous, right? And I mean, just feel the gorgeousness coming out of your heart and soul that just blows our hearts open. And that's how we find each other. We find each other in the common story that we live in, the shared truth, the shared reality principles. And when we tell that story, we are engaging in the single most subversive, loving, caring, revolutionary, evolutionary act that a human being can possibly engage. It is, and we're going to talk about it in depth in part 2 at 11 Pacific time. We're going to talk about it today in part 1 in the actual church. The church is going to go, the one church, many paths, one mountain. We're going to go till the top of the hour, as we always do. Or we're going to go through the pieces of practice and the pieces of Dharma and the pieces of talking together in the chat box and the experience of just waking up into prayer. And we're going to do this as our revolutionary act. And at the core of what we're doing is changing the story. The only thing that's ever changed reality, the only thing that's ever moved humanity forward, the only thing that's actually addressed pain and addressed suffering and transformed it into joy is the telling of a new story, a new love story in which everyone has a place, in which we begin to envision how to create a world that works for everyone, which is aligned with its own essential inherent principles. Reality is not meaningless. We don't just, I said to my colleague recently, Werner Erhard, when we sat together at a lovely conversation at a hotel bar in California, we don't just create our meaning. It's not a meaningless reality in which we create meaning. No, actually, the drive in us to create meaning is part of the innate meaning of cosmos. Right? Cosmos is meaning all the way up and all the way down. And because of that, that movement towards meaning, those structures of meaning that live in cosmos from the first moments of the Big Bang. Meaning doesn't start with human beings. Meaning is implicit in the structure of cosmos that lives in us. And so we go to make meaning, but not to make up meaning, but to disclose the meaning structures implicit in cosmos and to disclose them ever deeper, ever more beautifully. That's called evolution. Evolution means when we disclose the value, the inherent, intrinsic, gorgeous value in cosmos, the good, the true, the beautiful, and we evolve them, we deepen them. And more of the divine field, more and more of the value field is disclosed in us, as us, and through us, because the infinite source, the Tao, reality, and its interior heart, and our interior heart, the inside of the depth of who we are and our deepest identity, all three of those are one. All three of those, infinite source, the infinite depth, the interior face of cosmos, of universe itself, and our own interior face, right? That which is the deepest identity, my truest nature. All three of those are the same field. It's one field. That's what we mean. It's one heart, the God heart, the divine heart, the infinity heart, the reality heart, the human heart. It's one heart. And so the hearts dance with each other. And the hearts are always lined with love. And so we're here, the breakdown, the people dying of COVID alone in hospitals, the people dying of all of the tragedies that are unnecessary in reality, which has enough resources to feed everyone 4 times over, right? The breakdown of opportunity, where some of the most gorgeous, gifted human beings on the planet, millions of them, have absolutely no access to a path that would allow them to give their unique gifts that are desperately needed. And they're stuck in a treadmill, right, superimposed by economic structures that they can't get off of, and they live their entire lives, right, with the cascading downward movement of the frustration of all of society falling upon them as they're doing low-paid jobs that don't meet in any way their unique selves and don't have any of the privilege or opportunity that virtually every person on this call has. It's got to be a world that works for everyone. It's got to be a world in which there's no one outside the circle. It's got to be a world in which every human being knows that their infinite potential is a quality of the divine that was intended by all that is, and that's needed by all that is, and that's honored by all that is. The option is simple. If we don't actually go to utopia, dystopia harks at the door and will end this great human experiment. I've been talking for 10 years. Barbara Marx Hubbard, my evolutionary partner in this great evolutionary church, together with so many of us, has been talking for 50 years. And I'm sure she's still talking from the continuity of consciousness where she is right now after she's passed. We've been talking about the whole thing breaking down. We've been talking about this moment poised between utopia and dystopia. We've been talking about catastrophic risk, when the fragile system collapses on itself, and catastrophic risk, and a pandemic is an example of catastrophic risk, which is a dress rehearsal for existential risk. And people would kind of look at us like, really? And the whole thing's too big to break down. But of course it's not, because the whole thing is based on an artificially constructed, pieced together contraption which violates the essential laws of reality. And so we need to know, what are those laws? And those laws are evolving. And those laws are not owned by a particular people. Those laws are intrinsic and inherent. And when you go deeply enough, self-evident, because that which unites us is so much greater than that which divides us. So I'm ecstatic, and I'm in wild pain, right? We live in a world of outrageous pain, and we live in a world of outrageous beauty. And the only response is to realize the true nature of outrageous love, which is what we're going to talk about today. So if we can take a second before we turn to Amor, our chant to David, who's going to resonate the code, we're going to go deeply into prayer. Let's not forget. Do you notice that we get bored? How many people are bored of COVID? Right? We're kind of bored. We want a little pseudo-eros. We want a little, right? It's hard to stay home, right? We're devastated. 50 million people in America are devastated by not having jobs. Hundreds of millions of people around the world, right, are devastated by the collapse of life that's caused by the economic breakdown and the shortness of breath and the amount of people who've died on ventilators that didn't work, right? But we get bored. We turn our face away. We never turn away, my friends, we never turn away. We can come closer, we can step back sometimes, but we never turn away. We never turn away from the joy of reality. And we never turn away from the pain of reality because it's ours to transform. So I want to ask you if we can do what we did 3 weeks ago. Can we breathe together for every human being on the planet who's short of breath in this moment? For every human being with COVID-19, for every human being who's short of breath for any other reason. For every human being, right, 260 million people on the brink of starvation, twice as many as there were last year at this exact time, directly because of the pandemic. For the people who are out of breath because they don't know how to put food on the table. For the people who are dying every day of this pandemic and of other diseases. We're going to hold the joy. We're never going to stop celebrating. We dare to be delighted in the midst of the pain because it affirms the dignity, right, and the goodness of reality, right? We must risk delight. We can't do without the joy of reality. We have to have the stubbornness to accept our gladness in the ruthless furnace of this world. We have to have the stubbornness, so wrote the poet. We have to have the stubbornness to accept our gladness and our joy in the ruthless furnace of the world. And from that joy, we feel the pain and we hold it and we make a radical commitment to the transformation of the whole thing. We start with our own transformation, and our transformation is part of the transformation of the entire story. And we're committed to be those who play a larger game and who participate directly in the evolution of love. So for our first participation, are we ready? Are we ready? In the chat box, let's see if we can find each other in the chat box, right? Are we ready, friends, to breathe for all of reality? Are you ready to breathe? Are you ready to breathe now for all of reality? Are you ready to breathe? Who's ready to breathe for all of reality? Are you ready to breathe a breath, not just for yourself, but to breathe for all of reality, to breathe for every person who can't draw a breath, for every person who's breathless with fear, for every person who's out of breath because they can't even imagine, right? Let's breathe together, because when we breathe together and we love each other, we're inspired, right? We're participating in the great conspiring of reality. So let's breathe 4 breaths for every person on the planet. And you know, every time we breathe in at least a molecule or two of every breath that was ever taken in reality until about 2 years ago, because that's how the wind currents work. And so we're going to breathe in everyone from the last 2 years as well. So let's breathe in everyone and everything. Here we go. In breath. The great traditions teach us all of reality is breathing in and breathing out in every second. We breathe each other in. We breathe each other in. Cha, 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 cha. David, brother, resonate the code. Take us inside. Let this revolution this week, let our time together, let our chat box together be like no time that ever was, the first time we've ever come together. Everything's on the line. Reality is 50-50 in the balance, and it's our evolutionary intention which can tip the balance, because that's the truth of reality. Let's breathe a dimension of love into reality that she's never felt before. Let's rip our hearts open in joy and realization and goodness. All right, David, take us.
Thank you, Dr. Mark.
Yay.
Thank you, everyone. Welcome. Let's keep breathing. Let's breathe into all of our breakdowns, personally and collectively, all of our breakthroughs. And let's feel into this. And whatever brought us here, let's let that open ourselves, as Mark is asking, inviting us all to. So as I resonate the code, let's keep breathing. The universe feels, and the universe feels love. Reality is not a fact. Reality is a story. Reality is not an ordinary story. Reality is a love story. Reality is not an ordinary love story. Reality is an outrageous love story. Like every true love story, reality is filled with breakdown and breakthrough, contraction and expansion, expansion and contraction. Love is real. Love is more real than any other dimension in reality. Your personal love story is chapter and verse in the universe, a love story. The love story of reality is the greatest story ever told. And with that, I turn my word back to you, Dr. Mark.
David, thank you, sweetheart. Right now, here's the story. Right, here's the story. Right, not one word of that. Right, not one word of that. Do you get this? Not one word of that is fanciful. Not one word of that is conjecture. Right, every single word of that code is backed by the universe, is backed by the deepest interior sciences and the deepest exterior sciences. Now, does the whole world know that's true? Let me ask you a question. No. The answer is no. The whole world doesn't know that's true, right? The whole world knows intuitively, can find it inside, but it hasn't been articulated. It hasn't been laid down in a great library. It hasn't been proven through the theorems of exterior and interior science. It's got to be proven through physics. It's got to be validated in molecular biology, all 11 schools of psychology, the core schools of economics, the interior sciences of the great traditions. That has to be brought together, not in a first simplicity, but in a second simplicity that transcends and includes all the great knowings of pre-modern, modern, and postmodern, and tells the greatest story ever told. Now, let me ask you a question, right? Friends, right, friends, like holiest friends, right? Are we committed to telling that story? Are we committed to every human being on the planet, man, woman, and child, transgender, right? Knowing, every animal knowing, because animals can know in their own way, and they'll feel it from us. Are we committed to every being on the planet knowing the truth of that story? Are we committed to activating reality? You know, people tell me sometimes, right? My mother did also, right? Mark, you're a little too excited about this whole thing. Of course we're excited about it, right? There's 260 million people on the brink of hunger. And the only thing that can feed every human being is living this story, activating the truth of this story. People think not in terms of mathematics. They don't think in statistics. They don't think in mathematical equations. People think in stories because reality is a story, and we're going to talk about that today. So are we committed? Are we committed all the way to activating the story, the activation of reality? The next stage of reality's evolution is this story, and it's the ontologizing of love, which means, Terry Nelson says, Mark, what does ontologizing mean? Of course, Terry knows that, but he's thinking to me, Mark, what does ontologizing means? That love is, and that's what the code says, love is real. Right? Love is the most real dimension of reality, right? Love's not merely subjective. It's not a social construction, right? Love is the actual quality of reality. Now, to get that, to know that's true is not simple, right? We got to go inside and we can find it. We got to find it in our own inner knowing, but we've also got to validate it philosophically and scientifically, right? And psychologically. And that's our commitment here at, right? One Church, Many Paths, One Mountain. And our sister movement, the Center for Integral Wisdom and the Foundation for Conscious Evolution, the Office for the Future, right? It's all about that. And anyone who wants to play, this is the greatest game ever played, but it's not a game, right? It's the deepest play, and it's serious and play come together in the deepest place. There's no split between serious and playing. It's not, right? You ever watch guys play football? They're pretty serious about it, but this is not football, right? This is the greatest play of reality. It's the greatest Leela of reality. Right, is to actually activate the story, which is the intention of reality itself. Reality is reaching towards the truth of the story. Right, the story of reality, the love story of reality, is the evolution of love. And in every generation, we have to unpack the next chapter. But in this generation, we actually have to unpack the whole story, because we've actually unpacked so much exterior technology, so much exponential technology distributed in ways that are so fundamentally dangerous to our very existence, right? Whether it moves from drones to pandemics, right? To climate breakdown, to ecosystem collapse, to fractional reserve banking, to exponential growth curves that drop off a cliff, to the gap between haves and have-nots, right? Because of the fundamental lack in the storyline that we unpacked in modernity, which was a great momentous leap forward, but got several things fundamentally wrong in the story, right? The fracture in the plot line actually generated the second shock of existence, which is the threat, the first shock of existence, the realization that we die individually, until we actually move beyond that and realize actually we die into the next life. We die into the next stage of existence. That death is actually a night between 2 days. So we have that realization. But then we hit the second shock of existence, which is, right, not the death of the human being, but the death of humanity, right? Because we've created existential risk. We've created existential risk because we've stopped telling the story, because the plot line got arrested in the 17th century, because we're not actually drawing together the deepest knowings we have and actually telling the new story. The most subversive, activist, outrageous act of love that can be done is to come together and to tell, to write, to speak this new story. That's what it means to be evangelical. It's to share the good news, but it's not dogmatic. It's not imposed from without. It's the self-evident shared story that we all live in. And at the center of it is amor. It's the utter reality of love. Amor, right? Love is real, the most real thing that ever was. Solomon wrote in the ancient text, Tochor atzufa hava. Its insides are lined with love. Wow. So Oriana and the Holy Band take us inside to Amor. And let's just blast it off and let's feel it moving through us to animate this next time we have together, the first time we've ever been together, literally like the first time. Take us inside Amor. Suzette, here we go. Yay.
Amor, 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 amor,
Oh my God, amor, amor, amor. Its insides are lined with love. And those insides, that's interiority that's lined with love, is alive, it's breathing, it's not an it. Okay, so this is a key part of the new story, which we're gathering the deepest validated insights, the nature of reality. Okay, so can you stay with us close? We together? We good? Who's with us? Are we good? Are we like alive as like for the very first time? How did Madonna say it? Right? Like a virgin for the very first time, we have to re-virginate, right? Meaning we got to be fresh. It's the first time we've ever met, right? We're not in a routine. Our eyes are open, right? How did Emily Dickinson say it, right? Not revelation, 'tis that waits, but our unfurnished eyes. One of the things I just love so madly about my evolutionary partner, our evolutionary partner, Barbara Marx Hubbard, right? Barbara, right, was your ability in this life and is your ability in the next stage of consciousness to be radically, wildly excited, right? Literally for the very first time, right? And even if we talked about something 30 times, we'd actually go in and gather it again and then deepen it. So I want to deepen something with you. Okay, you ready to go? Who's ready to go? Who's like alive? Are we alive? This is the first time we've ever met. This is the first broadcast we've ever done, right? Let's be children, right? Let's be wise men and women who are holding the child, and we are alive and we are delighted and we've never met before. Oh my goddess. Hot damn, right? Good morning, Vietnam, Robin Williams. Hello, Robin Williams. Okay, did we love Robin Williams? We did. Oh my God. Are you ready? Okay, so in reality, there's actually ways that reality discloses her nature. So for example, in reality, we have the word I. I is, I am, my first person. Everyone get that? So I, what I feel inside of me, that's information, okay? Then there's a third person, it, he, she, right? That's the third person. So we study reality in third person we look at the facts and we gather the facts and we see what are the forces flowing through reality. Right? So let's say the force of gravity, the force of electromagnetism, the strong and the weak nuclear, those are forces moving through reality. And love is a force moving through reality, right? It's utterly real. And then second person, right? That's the third primordial perspective. And this is the structure of reality itself, is the space between us, right? It's the reason why, right, in the movie Castaway, Tom Hanks, who's on this gorgeous island, right, in the South Pacific, he's been shipwrecked. He's figured out how to survive. He's got the best scenery, the most beautiful ocean, right? He's in heaven, but he's not because there's no second person. There's no one to talk to. And if my interior can't relate to the interior of another human being, a second person, I shrivel and die because reality is a love story. Because the love that moves in me, first person, so that's the first person. That's the love I feel in me. It's the longing and the yearning for a deeper, to be touched, to hold, to hug, to embrace, to give my gift, to receive, to be penetrated, to love open. Right? That love, it's the reason, right, that we're attracted to love songs, because we feel the movement of love. It moves in us. That's love in first person. Love in third person is the force of love that moves through cosmos. Right? That's love in third person. Love in second person is the love between us. So the love between us is not just between you and me. Right? The love between us is between all. It's the personhood of cosmos. It's between all persons. Right? Every human being is already my friend. But our love lists are too short. We've exiled love to this very narrow kind of romantic love, which is usually a romantic love story where I meet a person, right? We settle down, right? Doesn't always work that well, but we need to kind of stay together. We need some security. We need some status, right? We don't want to be alone, right? And then we put all of our love in that place, maybe one or two other people along the way. No. Right? If you're partnered, the love with which you love your partner is the same love that drives reality. And it's the same love, although you might express it differently, right? You might focus it differently, but it's the same love that we love each other with. It's one love, it's one heart. And our love lists are too short, right? The personhood of cosmos, right? We can actually feel into that reality has a quality which is third person, expressed in many ways, including the laws of science. And the interior third person of love that animates reality, that infuses electromagnetism, the eros that infuses and animates gravity and the strong and the weak nuclear. And there's second person, the personhood of reality. So that personhood of reality lives between you and me, and it lives between you and source. That's what we call the personal God. But the personal God's not a myth. The personal God's not Santa Claus. The personal God's not owned by one religion. It's the personal face of cosmos, the infinity of intimacy that knows your name and cares about every jot and detail and tittle of your life. Nothing's left out. We sometimes, yes, live lives of quiet desperation, but if we're awake, we know that we're never in lonely desperation because we're never alone. The most important sacred text ever written, Imo Anochi B'tzara. I am with you. I'm with you in your pain, and I'm with you in your joy. Right? And I'm carrying you in every second. And in the hardest times, there's not two sets of footprints on the beach. In the hardest times, there's only one set of footprints. In the middle of this pandemic, there's only one set of footprints because Source is carrying us on her shoulders. Right? That is she. And that's the mother. Right? Right? Oh my God. And before that mother, before the infinity of intimacy, and before that Father who holds us and blesses us with the blessing of the Father, we bring our holy and our broken hallelujah. We turn to the infinity of intimacy that lives with us and holds us beyond death and knows every detail and cares about our transformation and calls us forward and caresses us even as she demands that we live our highest and most joyous self. And so we bring, as a child, we bring before the infinity of intimacy, and as a wise adult together, we bring everything. We bring our holy and our broken hallelujah, and we pray, and we're held. And that gives us that knowing that we're held, not as a dogma, but the absolute knowing when you can actually feel it. Let's just feel it for a second. Can you hear my voice? You can hear my voice. So how are you hearing my voice? Not just through your ears. It's a pointing out instruction. You hear my voice because your quality of consciousness hears my voice. And if you know anything about the physiology of an ear, you know that's true, right? It's the physiology of the ear is in this world, the mechanism through which intelligence, consciousness, that is you, hears and interprets, right, the entire sound structure pattern. And how hearing happens is stunningly beautiful. Consciousness hears. Your consciousness hears me just like my consciousness hears you. Now, is your consciousness split off from the field of conscious intelligence? Is it only your conscious intelligence can hear me? Is it only my conscious intelligence can hear you? When I heard Christina Amlon doing that beautiful Dharma recap, was it only Mark's conscious intelligence heard Christina Amlon, but no one else did? No, we all did. And is our conscious intelligence separate from the largest field of conscious intelligence? No, of course it's not. This is called a pointing out instruction. So if we heard Christina Amlon do the Dharma recap, is it at all possible that the entire field of intelligence, God herself, the infinity of intimacy, didn't hear every word Christina Amlon said? Of course she did. So we now turn to the infinity of intimacy, the Christ, the Tao, the Atman, which is Brahman, the Mat, the Geist, the implicate order, the Adonai Elohim. Wow, the river that's flowing, right? We turn and we bring Leonard Cohen. Step in with us. Suzette, bring us Leonard Cohen. Let's offer our prayer together, and then we're going to pray together. It's so good to be together, right? And to find the courage and the truth of heart to pray together and to be activists to make this revolution. So Suzette, take us inside, right? The holy, broken hallelujah.
Now I've heard there was a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord, but you don't really
Together, around the world, all of us, we're inside, we're in the meditation.
It goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, the major lift, the baffled king composing hallelujah.
Around the world, together.
Your faith was strong, but you needed proof. You saw her bathing on the roof, her beauty and the moonlight overthrew you. rays of light in every word. It doesn't matter which you heard, the holy or the broken. Hallelujah. I did my best. It wasn't much. I couldn't feel, so I tried to cut. I told the truth. I didn't come to fool you. And even though it all went wrong, I'll stand before the Lord of Song with nothing on my tongue but hallelujah.
Hallelujah, right? No one's outside of the circle, right? Peter, everything's in our circle, and we go to pray. And we go to pray and we turn to the infinity of intimacy that knows our name. Imagine your most personal moment, right? We're about to pray, right? Imagine, here's the last pointing out instructions so we can open our hearts. And a pointing out instruction is to know what we already know. Right? We already know it. It lives inside of us. Imagine your most intimate moment, right? Imagine your most intimate moment that you've ever had, okay? Just hold that for a second, right? Your most intimate second person moment. Now imagine, right? Imagine all of the forces of cosmos, right? All the electromagnetism, the hundreds of billions of light years, right? All of the movement of all of the laws of cosmos, of biochemistry, of molecular biology, of the enormous force of cosmos, of the galaxies, right? The galaxies, right? It's unimaginable that there are now hundreds of billions of galaxies. What does that mean? It means hundreds and trillions and trillions and trillions of stars, right? Life unimaginable. And there's no question that there's life beyond this planet. There's life and there's movement and there's self-organization and there's allurement, right? This infinite galaxy beyond imagination, this infinite reality of billions and hundreds of billions and trillions of galaxies, right? Take all of that third person. All of that third person is now sitting on a chair, okay? And looking at you. That's the infinity of intimacy. And you want to know what all of those trillions of galaxies, right? Because infinity is not divisible, right? Sitting in a chair, literally looking at Suzette, right? What is that infinity of intimacy feel about you right now as you're about to pray? So now imagine your most intimate moment, your most erotic sexual moment, and your most tender, nourishing, loving moment. Now double them, triple them, quadruple them, times 100, times 1,000, right? Times 10,000, right? Times 1,000,000, times 1,000,000,000, exponentialized, that most intimate, tender, and erotic moment, right? Exponentialized, right? That's how she is feeling about you right now, desperate to hear everything you have to say and to receive every word, right? And to hold you more preciously than you've ever been held, because that's the truth of reality. So into that infinity of intimacy, we pray. So anybody has a prayer, whatever your prayer is, right? What it is, I pray right? Let's pray it all the way. Let's open it all the way, right? Like, oh my God, right? Oh my God, Tracy, I pray to only take love personally, nothing else, right? Oh my, Tracy, what a gorgeous prayer, right? Just blew our hearts open. I pray I'm only going to take love personally, nothing else. Medea, the awesome Medea, I pray the love I am cascade through my feminine body temple to love every spark of life. Sadly, Adnams, wise woman, I pray that she may pour through me in every way that she needs from me, uniquely in capitals. Krista, I pray for a super healthy, strong body so I can serve she more powerful every day in this Ramadan, right? Joyce, welcome, Joyce, praying for all. Joyce, we're going to learn unique self. Can't wait, Joyce, right? For all who transitioned last week, including three of my friends, Pat, Jerry, and Earl. Oh my God, Terry, right? I pray that I have the courage and energy to give my all and to feel held throughout. Oriana, in your beautiful Amor today, I pray for God's grace to be the grace of God giving birth as I am given birth. Zohar, thank you, beloved Goddess, for the transformation I went through this week. Please help me go through it all the way, right? Nothing left untransformed. Help me, right? Stand for the transformation of the whole Oots, the most beautiful, wonderful Oots, Santa Claus personified. Right? The most beautiful Oots. I pray for more and more authenticity in and around me, Louise, that more hearts turn to love and light. Genuinely, I pray for the infinite mad love for all. Tina, welcome. I pray that everyone receive what they need. I pray that I am Andre, right? Professor Molinari, I pray that my mother, right, may feel held and loved madly by she, right? Oh my God, Peter, I pray for Homo Amor. Suzette, I pray for myself and everyone to see everything new and love every moment open. I pray to the top of the mountain to reach it with mankind. Right, friends and relatives, hallelujah. Christina, I pray to overcome the strep skin infection, right? The body, so my body's strong and powerful. Yes, amen. Enika, I pray for the most intimate universe around us, in us, and through us. Lady J, I pray to be blown open, releasing all contraction in service to she. Ronaine, I pray that I may muster my own health and strength so I may fully serve the all and complete the unique self book. I think it said that. Shot, right? Oh my God, I pray to find deeper grounding and focus in these hard times. Evoke spirit, I pray I deepen perceiving being welcomed on this planet as my unique self. Fran Kosick, it's so good. Welcome, Fran. And Fran, write not just to all panelists and evoke spirit. Few people are writing to all panelists. Switch it to all panelists and attendees so we can all be blown open by your prayer. So Fran, right, I move into and respond to Soul's Purpose. David, I pray for Mark and for the church team to continue giving our gifts every day for the evolution of love. Oh my God, Mosa, it's so good to see you, Mosa. Mosa, I pray that my light of love shines through anything. And Mosa, when you get to it, unique voice waits for you, right? Oh my God, right? Adam, right? Adam, if you can write to all panelists and attendees, right? Pray for all to be inside the circle. Raquel, I pray for a new bed to sleep in, not alone. Amen. Right? And for every person in Cat, write to all panelists and attendees, right? Raquel, right? Let that prayer that you're praying for a new bed to sleep in and not alone for every lonely person on the planet, right? Praying to live wide open. Jennifer Michaels, right? Again, write to all panelists and attendees. Maybe we forgot to tell people that this week. Okay, everyone write to all panelists and attendees so everyone can see. Okay, I pray to experience the love, the fullness of love and goodness, right? Thomas Parrott, right? I pray for the feeling of safety for the smallest and the biggest, a feeling of radical support. Adele, I pray that I may live with childlike joy. Right? Medea, joy saying to stay in my heart more than my head. Yeah, right? Feeling love deeper and deeper every day. Rob Cannon, to continue growing harmony, right? Love, right? All the way, everyone, right? Right? Laura, that I'm guided to use my unique light and love and joy for all, right? Kathy, right? Claire, right? Lynn, Joyce, right? To love outrageously every moment. Okay, so, oh my God, right? So let's weave this together. And she lifts these prayers, right, to the sky. And let's find our way inside, friends. Let's find our way inside. And I want to feel just one Dharma, okay? Just one like small Dharma, but it's a wild Dharma. And to feel it all the way. And then at 11 o'clock, we're going to do part 2. Okay, so we're going to finish at, right? We're going to do part 2. We're going to blow so wide open, right? We're going to take this, the next one. What are we doing here? We're doing sense making. Right? We've dedicated this weekly broadcast to sense making for the sake of the whole and our broken information ecologies. We're not here to do entertainment, although there's deep play, right, in this radical seriousness, but it's not entertainment, right? It's not wisdotainment, right? We're actually revolutionaries, and seeing what's needed in this moment to actually bring down, right, the deepest integration of a shared truth, a shared goodness, a shared beauty, right, to actually bring down, right, the news story. Okay? So let's see if we can grab one piece. We can grab one piece, and we're going to hear a specific and beautiful chant in the middle of our part 2, right? The river is flowing. That's going to come to us, but we're playing, right? It's right. We're playing. You know, in Hinduism, my beautiful holy friends in Kashmir Shaivism, they talk about Leela, and they talk about the divine play, which is beyond content. What we're now realizing that actually the deepest play is ultimately serious. That in the ultimate place beyond opposites, there's no split between the serious and the play. Right? Work and play are the same. Right? We play with all of our passion. And it's why people love sports. Sports intuitively, right? Why do sports attract us? Sports attract us because they speak to some truth of reality that we don't have access in any other place. Do you get that? Right? Sports at their height speak to this deep merger of complete play, radical play. Play's not fun. Fun is often pseudo-eros. Play is like the deepest fun there is, right? But it's not surface fun, right? It's this deep play, which is the most serious endeavor that there is, right? We're in the greatest game, and our purpose, our invitation in this greatest game that ever was and is and will be, right, is to actually tell the greatest story that ever was. And that's what we're here to do. It's the most important act that a human being can do today. So I want to at 10:56. Okay, and David keeps putting in the code because he says, Mark, pay attention to the code. Okay, so let's go to the first sentence of the code, David. Thank you, brother. The universe feels and the universe feels love. Okay, and we're going to read this again. We're going to start again right at 11 o'clock. So we're going to do a close at 11. So if anyone feels that they need to go and they're not able to stay, we're in our Commitment Church's 1 hour, our broadcast every week. I'm going to start this now. Then we're going to pick it up kind of round 2 deep in all the way at 11. And everyone's welcome to stay as a revolutionary and to listen, not for the sake of entertainment, wisdotainment, infotainment, right? We're going to move beyond the infodemic, this infodemic that's kind of striking the heart of reality, right? And into this next stage, right, of this shared wisdom, the shared story. So here's the sentence. The universe feels and the universe feels love. Okay? Like, wow. Okay? The universe feels and the universe feels love. Okay? So what does that mean? So there's 2 basic positions in the world. And Tom Goddard, this is for you. Okay? There's 2 basic positions that have been the positions, right, in reality for the last couple of hundred years. They've existed in different ways for a couple of thousand years, but in the last couple of hundred, they dominate all thought about the nature of reality. Everyone ready? Who's ready? Because I want to go for like a deep 2 minutes, okay? You ready to like go all the way? I'm gonna go all the way, okay? Like all the way, all the way, all the way. This is like a deep new piece, like a deep new piece. Okay, here we go. Ready? Here we go. So the 2 basic positions are dualism and materialism. Now you're like, why is Mark talking about a serious thing now? Because it's serious. It's the deepest play in the world. So dualism says, okay, dualism says there is spirit, godness, divinity, and there's body, okay? And the 2 are utterly separate, but that's called dualism. Now, how dualism came into being is a very interesting story, which I'm not going to tell now, but dualism makes this radical split. Descartes was a dualist. The church adopted dualism. And the idea is that matter is inert, I-N-E-R-T. Does that work in Europe? Our friends in Europe and our friends in Asia, inert. Anyone can spell that? I-N-E-R-T, I'll try it. Inert, meaning, right, inert means, right, thank you, right? It's inert, right? It's not moving. And it was really important for the church to say that because, for example, the church wanted to say that only Jesus, who is spirit, could work miracles in the body because the body's inert, right? So no one else can work miracles but, right, Jesus, because the body itself is inert, right? The body itself is dead, right? Right? The body relates to spirit. Spirit and body talk to each other. How that happens is the great mystery of dualism, which is hard to figure out. And the critique of dualism is called, how does the interaction happen? What's the interactionism between the 2? How could that possibly happen? How do the 2 interact? And the answer is usually some form of God's omnipotent and all-powerful, so God can make it work. That's basically dualism. Okay? Then there's materialism. Materialism is actually the same as dualism. Materialism is actually the materialism of the 17th century. Excuse me, the dualism of the 17th century became the materialism of the 19th century. Meaning materialism is just dualism without one half. That's a big statement. And it's, you knock off spirit, right? Spirit's not real. So what do we have left? Matter. And is matter alive? Of course not. Matter is inert. Matter is dead particles of matter, right? Does everyone get that? Because essentially that was the stream. That's where we went to. We got to basically materialism, which is inert matter. And if you read every philosophy book, in every philosophy department around the world, there's this big fight between dualism and materialism. Dualism has the problem of interactionism, meaning how do the two act together? How does spirit and matter talk to each other? But materialism has much, much bigger problems. I'm just going to tell you two of them, okay? One is value, right? We have a sense that there's value in cosmos. There's the good, the true, and the beautiful. And that those values are backed by reality. Those are expressions, they're intrinsic, right? We have the value of fairness, justice, but that we sense that that's not just a social construction, right? Right? The great materialist Bertrand Russell ran into trouble with his materialism, and he said, you know, although I can't, based on my materialism, I can't refute the subjectivity of values. I mean, the values are merely subjective, they're merely made up, but I still can't believe that the only thing wrong with wanton cruelty is that I don't like it. That's Bertrand Russell, 1925, who wrote with Alfred North Whitehead, Principia Mathematica. So Russell says the problem with materialism is, right, it just can't be that the only problem, right, with wanton cruelty is that I don't like it. It means we have a sense that our values are ultimate, but materialism doesn't allow for it. Did you get that? Number two, we have a sense of our freedom. And our freedom might be more limited than we think, but we have a core, intuitive, deep knowing that we make choices. And we base our entire life on our capacity to make choices. So we know that truth lives in us, but actually materialism doesn't allow for it. Materialism, right, has to suggest a world in which everything's determined. So, for example, materialism cannot account for value, and materialism can't account for freedom. So that's two examples of the critique of materialism. And so there's this huge battle raging. Okay, now, Goddard, Ronaine, Tom, this is for you. Here you go. Ready? So the truth is both are wrong. Those are old, limited conceptions. If you actually weave together a new Dharma, you actually weave together, right, a new integration of the best information we have in the interior and exterior sciences, you realize that there's one huge mistake made. You ready for this? Matter is not inert. Matter is not dead, right? Matter is not inanimate. Actually, reality is sentient. Reality is alive all the way up and all the way down. And that's, of course, our first-person experience. Our first-person experience, we have a body, right? A body, a physical body that's material, and that body feels. That's actually the only internal first person we have available in the world is that truth. And when we gather the facts, which I can't do right now, I can't do like 2 hours on this, although I'm tempted to, but I won't, I promise, right? But we've been talking about this for 2, 3, 4 years together in our deeper study structures. We actually realize that reality is alive, that actually allurement is the core structure of reality, right? Reality, there's interior prehension. Prehension means, right, there's a proto-desire to touch in all of reality. All of reality is reaching towards each other, right? Reality is, in its deepest structure, outrageous love. But outrageous love means that reality is allured. Particles are allured to each other. They're drawn together, and they're uniquely allured in particular ways. And they're allured according to particular codes of meaning in the very first nanoseconds of the Big Bang. And that actually is the structure of reality. And that reality has telos, that allurement has direction. And in the inner quality of that allurement is love. So here's the sentence, the first sentence of our code. It's shocking. The universe feels, and the universe feels love. Now, you get that now? That's not a casual statement, right? The dualism can't say that because God feels the universe is inanimate matter. The materialist can't say that right? Because what do rocks feel? But we actually realize that dualism and materialism are both incomplete. And there's actually a deeper reality that transcends both of them, which actually explains, Occam's razor explains reality better than anything we know. And we know its truth in our own interiority, which is the universe feels, and the universe feels love. Wow. And the love that I feel is part of the love that the universe feels. And when I go deep inside, the universe is in me and I'm in the universe, right? Occam's razor. Occam's razor means the simplest explanation, the deep, simple principle that explains, right, all available data in the best possible way. That's Occam's razor. That's what it's called. That's what I was referring to. Thanks for asking, love. Okay? Wow, the universe feels and the universe feels love. Like, wow. Wow. Okay, so that is a new understanding. That is, right, that's a new, it's not dualism. It's not materialism. It's the pan-interiority of all of reality. It's a pan-depthism, right? Reality has depth, right? Reality has experience. It's a pan-experientialism, right? It's the pan-depth of all of reality. There is no reality that doesn't have an interior. Reality's interiors and exteriors all the way up and all the way down. And therefore, I begin to realize my love story is included in the love story of reality. And values are more real than I ever possibly imagined them to be. Okay? Wow. So we're going to finish the first part, right, of this broadcast with a prayer. And we're going to do a prayer in a different way, okay? We're going to do a song that we haven't done in a while, okay? And it's a gorgeous song, and it's a prayer, and it was written 25 years ago by Foreigner. Now, I want to ask everyone to actually move, if you can, right? Move to all panelists and attendees. David, thank you for writing. I got Krista. We're totally good. Thank you, David, I got it. Thank you. You're awesome. Okay. Lady Krista, we got you. We're together. Okay. So I want to ask everyone if we're going to do a meditation, move to all panelists and attendees. Okay. Everyone's on all panelists and attendees. Okay. So we're going to do a song. It's a song which is actually a prayer. And we've just answered that prayer. And the name of the song is I Want to Know What Love Is. Okay. But I want to ask if we can actually do this as a meditation and then write into the chat box the truth that you know as we listen to the meditation. And we're going to end church there, and we're going to come back, and we're going to dive into part 2. Okay. And we're revolutionaries, and we're not doing entertainment. And I spent last night preparing this for you because you love me and I love you, and we love each other, and that's real. And we're committed to this revolution. And no one else is going to do it but us. Right? And everyone's going to do their piece, but we're in the Unique Self Symphony. This piece, these mimetic structures are ours to do. And we're going to go the last step in conspiracy theory this week, but deeper than we have before. We're going to put it all together, and it's all going to weave, and we're going to be able to see something unbelievably important in reality. But for now, we're going to pray. Okay? For now, we're going to pray. We're going to pray the song. Suzette, when you're ready, take us inside, and let's write into the chat box, right? Our prayer, our feeling, our knowing that love is real, our knowing that reality is alive, our knowing that the universe feels, and the universe feels love. Oh my God, oh my God. So let's take that love and let's pour it into Lady Krista. So Lady Krista, give us, like, how do we step in, right? How do we just become part of this, right? All the way, right? Give our gifts, right? Write outrageous acts of love, right? And make this alive. So Lady Krista is going to take us inside, right now. And then we're going to go the last step. It's going to be, I think, number 4, huge. We're going to do our sense making for the sake of reality, right? We're going to take that responsibility to be the sense makers, right? To be a unique self symphony, to be a collective intelligence, and to look at where we are at this particular moment in time. Atlantic Magazine, right? Cover story, conspiracy theory. CNN, conspiracy theory. Germany's Der Spiegel, conspiracy theory. Asia, right? Why? And why is it so critical to our mission, right? Why is this so wildly relevant and unbelievably important for us in terms of what we have to do? So, oh my God, Krista, right? I want to know what love is. Tell us how to get there. Take us inside. Lady Krista, away we go.
Yes, thank you, Mark. I do want to know what love is, and we all want to know what love is. In our One Church, Many Paths, One Mountain, we are practicing being outrageous lovers by writing outrageous love letters. And I invite you to join us tomorrow. Every Monday at 11 a.m., we meet each other in our outrageous love writing course. And this is led by Christina Amelong and Christina Kincaid. And throughout the weeks, we have created such a beautiful, sacred, safe space to feel our outrageous love and to open our hearts to outrageous love more and more. And every week we share our outrageous love letters on our Facebook page. And I want to invite you to go to the link that is in the chat box and take a look at our Facebook page, Outrageous Acts of Love. On this page, we share our outrageous love letters and our outrageous love stories. And I just want to read to you a little piece that Tina Cisco, one of our members of One Church, has written. With her permission, I want to read a few sentences of that. I was a completely different person months ago. I was in so much pain from the past hurts and disappointments. It got to the point where I was carrying my world on my shoulders alone. I started spiraling down a dark path fast. I hated God. I hated people. I trusted no one. And then it goes on where she says, then I started attending the One Church on Zoom. Slowly, I started to shift each week. I started to see things in a different light, through the eyes of love and not hate. I started to see that I was part of a much larger thing and that we are all in this together. I felt everyone's pain, their happiness, their gratefulness, everything. And I realized how everyone cares for each other. And it goes on and she ends with, I love you all. Thank you so much, Tina, for sharing this outrageous love story. It's such an amazing example how we are moving on every level from the field of contraction into the field of outrageous love. And as Tina, there are so many more people out there who need us to love them open and to remind them how loved they are. So I just want to go back to the video clip that we have watched together last week and go into our spiritual practice here every week, practicing committing outrageous acts of love. This is a video that we have created where Mark is speaking about the Dharma, that reality is a love story. And I want to invite you to join, to step in, to participate in this unique self-symphony and to take action now, because it feels so much better to step into the field and to play a larger game together and not only watch from the side, but actually let outrageous love move through you. So right now in the chat box, we are sharing the link to this beautiful, gorgeous video with the beautiful Dharma. And I want to invite you to share it with a friend right now. You can share it on your social media page, or you can write a personal email to one of your best friends. Just think of someone that you know that needs to be loved open by you right now. Write them a personal message saying, hey, I'm thinking of you. This is something that really inspires me and I love you so much. So just let's take 30 seconds together to just share it somewhere with someone right now, and we will meet each other back here in 30 seconds.
Yeah, I love this. This is awesome.
Evil is a failure of intimacy. If we don't live in an intimate universe, there's no reason to think there should ever be intimacy. There's no reason to think that it should ever be fair. There's no reason to think that it should ever be a world in which every human being's intrinsic dignity is affirmed and loved, in which every human story is told, in which every human being is born knowing I have a unique self and a unique story to tell, and that story deserves to be lived and honored, right, and cherished and nourished, right, and that every person has a story that should be told and a song that should be sung and a poem that should be written. None of that makes sense in a non-intimate universe, right? Those emergent evolutionary understandings of the intrinsic dignity of every human being as a unique configuration of love, and those are all expressions of the intimate universe. Exactly.
Right, amazing. We are all expressions of the intimate universe. So let me know in the chat box. I will read it after this if you were able to share it, and share it, of course, with the hashtags that we added, #OutrageousLove. So I will be able to find all of your posts and find you on our social media and comment on that. If you are ready to step in and come even closer, please come and check out our beautiful website that is onechurch.world. On this website, you can find all of the books that Christina Amelong has shared in the beginning of this live stream. So take a look there, and also take a look at the membership site. We are creating this One Church together. All of us here are volunteers. No one is receiving a paycheck. We are all sharing our resources, our time, our energy, our love, and our money to build this One Church, many paths, one mountain together, and to reach more and more people every day. So you can make a one-time contribution by clicking here on this donate button, or you can choose to become a member and make a financial monthly contribution. It starts with $25 a month. And if you do become a member, you will gain access to our online community, and you will also get access to these 9 beautiful courses where all of the Dharma from Mark Goffney is deeply, deeply shared, and you can study that. Each and every course, the value of it is $297. And as I said, you can already become a member starting from $25. So that is an amazing, amazing gift for all of you. And you can study together with other students, or you can just study in your own pace. And that's an amazing opportunity. So I really can't wait to meet you inside, to get to know you, to see your faces in our membership community. And with that, I give my word back to you, Mark. Thank you so much.
Oh my God, thank you so very, very, very much. Thank you so, Krista, Lady Krista. Oh my God, and I can't wait to see and to share with everyone, which is either going to be this week or next week, the gorgeous new chant that you made of River is Flowing. So are we ready, everybody? Right? And to say one thing that Barbara would step in here and say, right? And Barbara would step here and say all the time, right? And it's absolutely true. Like, make the contribution real, right? As Lady Krista said, right? This can't work without us all stepping up. This is not a financial operation. I pour money into the center every month. Barbara still pours money right into the center, is still funding the center. She left right in her funding, you know, the One Church, Many Paths, One Mountain, excuse me. She left money in her will to help this go on. But it only works if we have just literally in the structure, if people are actually every month making contributions. So we're making at least, right, X amount per month so that we can actually keep this going and build it and spread it, okay? So just to be really clear, I don't own a house, right? We're not doing savings, right? We're not doing the car thing, right? That's not what it's about. We're about making this revolution. And so everyone step up, do $25 a month, do 50, do 100. And again, Barbara would say this much more, you know, forcefully than I am, but feel the invitation, right? Literally, right, where we actually spend, right, is actually where we sign our name. It matters enormously. So take the time. Let's put the link in the chat box again, if we can. We put that link in the chat box again, where a person can make a monthly contribution. That's what allows this to happen, or best to become a member, which is awesome, or make a one-time contribution, but actually take the time. That's that extra thing. That's where I become alive, right? It's the details. It's the details of where it plays. It's the details of where it lives. Okay, y'all ready to play? Are we ready to go? Okay, are we ready to go? Who's ready to go? Are we ready to go? Are we ready for the next stage? Are we ready to take the next leap? Are we ready to go into part 4? Right? Are we ready to actually animate reality and activate reality with this next step of the source code? Okay, so here we go. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you and to be in this with you and to go deep. Now we're going to go just, I guess, deep as we can go. Okay, let's take off. So we're going to start today with a very kind of unusual start. Okay, and the start is going to be, we're going to see a clip. It's about 3.5 minutes. I'm going to ask everyone to watch it carefully. And it's a clip of Barack Obama, okay? And it's Barack Obama giving a commencement speech on Zoom. We're only going to see, I don't know, 3 minutes of it, something like that. How many minutes are we going to see, Suzette or Shahat? Something like that, 3.5 minutes. And I want you to listen carefully, because it's wildly important. it's important both what Barack said and what Barack didn't say, right? What he said and what's missing. And you can't actually understand conspiracy theory, right? It's a little over 3 minutes a shot. You can't actually understand conspiracy theory without understanding what Barack Obama is saying here and what he's not saying, what's important here and what's missing, right? And none of this is about a critique of Barack Obama as a person, right? Blessings to Barack Obama, who's just done, so many beautiful things on so many levels, right? And has gotten so much support. So I want to bless all the beauty that he's done, right? But this is not about Democratic. It's not about the best of the Republican Party, not the hijacked version of it that we tragically see today, right? And it's not about Barack Obama being right or wrong. Barack Obama is a complex figure, like all people are. So it's not about Barack. And Barack, I totally appreciate you signing up and letting us use your commencement speech, right? So this is total mad love, brother. Okay, this is both what you said, but what's missing. Because Barack Obama in this little talk incarnates, in a certain sense, what we might call the best of the liberal world, right? The best of Western Enlightenment. And you see both its strength in Barack Obama and you see its enormous weakness. So take us inside. Barack Obama, Barack, thank you, brother, and Mr. President. And thank you, and with huge honor for your service and huge honor for everything you've done. So we're going to critique you a little bit today, and I know as part of the values of Western Enlightenment that you could not be more delighted. So take us inside. Barack Obama, coming at you. Thanks for coming.
So if the world's going to get better, it's going to be up to you. That realization may be kind of intimidating, but I hope it's also inspiring. With all the challenges this country faces right now, nobody can tell you, no, you're too young to understand, or this is how it's always been done. Because with so much uncertainty, with everything suddenly up for grabs, this is your generation's world to shape. If I'm one of the old guys, I won't tell you what to do with this power that rests in your hands, but I'll leave you with 3 quick pieces of advice. First, don't be afraid. America's gone through tough times before. Slavery, civil war, famine, disease, the Great Depression, and 9/11. And each time, we came out stronger. Usually because a new generation, young people like you, learned from past mistakes and figured out how to make things better. Second, do what you think is right. Doing what feels good, what's convenient, what's easy, that's how little kids think. Unfortunately, a lot of so-called grown-ups, including some with fancy titles and important jobs, still think that way, which is why things are so screwed up. I hope that instead you decide to ground yourself in values that last, like honesty, hard work, responsibility, fairness, generosity, respect for others. You won't get it right every time. You'll make mistakes, like we all do. But if you listen to the truth that's inside yourself, even when it's hard, even when it's inconvenient, people will notice. They'll gravitate towards you, and you'll be part of the solution instead of part of the problem. And finally, build a community. No one does big things by themselves. Right now, when people are scared, it's easy to be cynical and say, let me just look out for myself, or my family, or people who look or think or pray like me. But if we're going to get through these difficult times, if we're going to create a world where everybody has opportunity to find a job and afford college, if we're going to save the environment and defeat future pandemics, then we're going to have to do it together. So be alive to one another's struggles. Stand up for one another's rights. Leave behind all the old ways of thinking that divide us. Sexism, racial prejudice, status, greed, and set the world on a different path. When you need help, Michelle and I have made it the mission of our foundation to give young people like you the skills and support to lead in your own communities and to connect you with other young leaders around the country and around the globe. But the truth is, you don't need us to tell you what to do, because in so many ways, you've already started to lead. Congratulations, class of 2020. Keep making us proud.
Hey, NBC News viewers.
There we go. Okay. So obviously, everyone catch that? Right? Obviously, right? There's a lot of beauty there, right? So yay Barack, right? So everyone gets to give him a big hand, okay? Like total fantastic. Now let's be in a democracy and let's take this the next step, okay? So I'm going to put Barack aside for a second, President Obama, right? Big hand Barack. And let's now go to step 4 of conspiracy theory, and we're going to come back to Barack, right, in a couple of minutes, okay? So what we're going to do now is we're going to deepen what we talked about at the end of last week. We're going to deepen what we talked about in Dharma Circle. So we're going to take off right now. Okay, so this is the start. It starts right here. We just saw a clip of Barack Obama. And Barack Obama is talking about what the young generation, it's a commencement speech to high school students. And it's beautiful. And Obama's beautiful in all the ways that he is. But what's troubling about it? If you listen carefully, you notice that Obama says time and again, there is nothing that we actually have to give you. We don't have a transmission of values that are actually larger than they work, they last, right? We're the old people, right? We screwed it up. I'm the old guy. There's not a sense of, here are the shared principles backed by the universe that actually reflect timeless truths, right? Here's a sense of unique self. I don't feel, right? Feeling good, right, is equated, feeling good's equated with what's convenient and what's easy. Don't do what feels good, do what you think is right. So there's this split between thinking and feeling. Feeling is superficial, thinking is good, right? There's a sense of, on the one hand, you should listen to what's inside yourself because that's going to work. People are going to notice, they're going to gravitate towards you, right? So it works. These are values that last, right? They're pragmatically, right, effective, but there's not a sense, and I want you to stay with me really closely, of the ultimate truth, right, of a shared tradition that I, Barack, as an elder, have to transmit to you, right? Actually, I'm not just the older guy. I'm not just part of the screw up, right? I actually, right, want to be giving you a transmission. I want to be actually an elder, and I want to share with you that actually there were great people who came before you, and they had a shared sense of value. And those values are rooted in ultimate realities. And that actually love is part of the story, and love is real, right? It's a real value of cosmos, right? And these values of honesty and hard work and responsibility, it's not just that they last and that people are going to notice you and gravitate towards you. It's actually, this is the structure of cosmos, right? That you're actually part of a larger story. And it's now your turn at this key point, right? Of course, to step into your leadership, and it's your turn to go the next step. And it's your turn to participate in the evolution of love that's been going on generation to generation. Because otherwise, what's the experience you have, right, as a young person? Right? Basically, all the previous generations aren't actually transmitting to me wisdom. I'm not actually receiving the perennial philosophy, which is the greatest shared truths known throughout the generations. I'm not, right, receiving the 15 common sense sacred axioms that a person actually lives by because they're actually reflective of a deeper and wider ultimate truth. I'm not participating in the evolution of love. I don't know that love is real. Right? You get that? And in other words, the liberal world thought that it could do away with the great mythic story of reality that we're participating in. Right? It could do away with, it could just rely on the kind of innate sense that there's the good, the true, and the beautiful. But actually, postmodernity deconstructed the good, the true, and the beautiful. That actually, right, we've got to show a young person that there's a truth that lives within you at a time when in the Oxford Dictionary, the word of the year in 2016 is post-truth, right? Post-truth becomes the word of the year. So if post-truth is the word of the year, how can, right, a high school graduate actually find the truth that lives within them? If there's no sense of self, right? I had the privilege of doing some very active involvement with one of the best liberal private schools in America, a high school. The kids from the, leading edge families, with the best faculty, right? Literally the bastion of liberal America. And I will tell you that those kids, right, had no idea, right, what the good, the true, and the beautiful were. As a matter of fact, they said to me, we don't even think we have a self. According to the science that we seem to be understanding, we're just a random collection of atoms and molecules. And there's actually nothing that we're ever obligated to do, because there can't be an obligation, because everything's purely subjective. And I follow the truth that lives in me, right, wherever it takes me, but no one can actually demand any truth from me, because that's actually wrong. And so I asked the entire, right, a huge part of the student body, not the entire student body. But I said, okay, Mother Teresa and Hitler, right? Mother Teresa and Hitler, that's a pretty obvious distinction. Who was right and who was wrong? And I will tell you that I would say more than 2/3 of this leading interested group of the student body said, you can't say objectively that one was more right than the other, because there's not a shared pool of truth, right? There's not a shared set of values that actually obligate us, right? There's not a demand for a nobility that's beyond my own subjective truth, right? There's not a transmission of perennial values that have been accessed by the most subtle and speculative minds. There's not a story of reality conspiring, right, to ever greater levels of love, to ever greater levels of truth, ever greater levels of beauty, ever greater levels of goodness. And actually a teacher in that school who had been there for 40 years said to me, right after this class, she said, when I came to this school, again, I won't name the school, the assumption was the good, the true, and the beautiful, the great triad of Plato. Now neither the faculty nor the kids have any genuine access to that innate value. They don't even know how to formulate it, that lives in Cosmos, right? That anything that's an innate value is considered dogmatic, right? You have to actually, and the way the school teaches is, right? The way the school teaches is they actually facilitate in the school. They're little classrooms of 14, 15 people. And then students are asked, what do you think? What do you think? So a text is read and students are asked, well, what do you think? And what do you think? And what do you think? So instead of giving them any kind of transmission of actually, there's a set of certainties that we know. And I sat and I met with the faculty and I said to the faculty, right, you guys are teaching your uncertainty, right? Wow. Do you have any certainties? And they said, of course we have certainties, but we can't teach them because that would be dogmatic. So I literally went around the room, the best teachers at this best school, and none of them were transmitting any certainties of value, any certainties of goodness, of truth, of beauty, of the reality of love. Instead, they were facilitating the students, and everything the students said, that's really good. Oh, that's really good. Oh, that's fantastic. And I sat in a lot of classes. It was a complete collapse of education. Did you get that? So that's a very big deal. Now, President Obama is a beautiful expression of the old world of liberalism, but that's not going to take us home. The old world of liberalism has actually collapsed on itself because it's actually not standing for a vision in which there's noble obligation beyond yourself, in which you're called by Cosmos to an intrinsic responsibility that's actually needed by all that is, where you can't actually experience reality saying to you, right, you're chosen, you're recognized, right, you're desired, you're literally needed by all that is, right? At that school where I taught, which reflects the best of these values expressed by President Obama, right, the overwhelming majority of the students didn't have a sense of self, right? Even a sense of a cohesive, separate self was hard. They experienced themselves in these kind of dogmatic, materialist, scientific terms. They certainly didn't have a sense of true self, of dropping beneath separate self into the infinite field of consciousness. They fit all of themselves on a postage stamp, the most narrow, desiccated version of themselves. Right? To actually experience that I'm one with the field of consciousness, that I'm one with the larger field of outrageous love, and then to go from true self to unique self, right? That I'm actually an irreducibly unique expression of the love, beauty, and love intelligence of all that is, that lives in me, as me, and through me, that never was, is, or will be ever again other than through me. And as such, I have a unique perspective and I have a unique quality of intimacy that together comes together to foster my unique gift. And my unique gift is needed in my unique circle of intimacy and influence. And I join hands with other unique selves around the world to give that gift. And that is the very purpose of my life. That is the very joy of my life that was intended by all that is. And that my life's purpose participates in the larger purpose of cosmos. And the cosmos actually is a story, means there's a plot line, right? It has direction, right? You get that? All of that was missing. So instead, right, and I apologize, and with great honor, President Obama, instead we got liberal plabum. And liberal plabum, right, doesn't cut it, right? Now, is what Barack Obama said true? Of course it's true. Is he elegant and beautiful? Yes, he's also a great dancer, right? He's a great guy. Hot damn, right? I'll spend a week with Barack Obama on an island. Sure, but that's not the point, right? Right? The point is the generations. The point is there's a rupture in the generations. I want to give you an idea enunciated by a sociologist named Will Herberg in the 1950s. He called it cut flower ethics. And cut flower ethics means you have a rose, and the rose is rooted, right, in the earth and the soil and the water. Then you cut the rose from the soil. So in the first generation, right, rose looks good, right? It's cut from the earth, but it's still second generation, rose is a little bit, right, a little bit. Third generation, fourth generation, the rose is dead. Right, you get that? In other words, we've cut the values of the good, the true, and the beautiful from their larger mooring in the intrinsic and inherent value of cosmos itself. So Krista asks, is there objective truth? Of course there's objective truth. And objective truth and subjective truth merge. They're the same, right? And that's my deepest inner subjectivity, right, is the larger field of shared truth. Now, there are unique expressions of that truth. So every religion can be a unique self in the unique self symphony. But there's a larger story. That which unites us is far greater than that which divides us. Right? So here's an objective truth. Love is real. And I experience that objective truth in my own subjective interior. And the entire split between objective and subjective disappears. Of course it does. Are the good, the true, and the beautiful objective truths, right, that live in every subject? Of course they are. Now, does that mean that they're frozen in a particular generation? Does that mean that they don't evolve? Of course they evolve. Love is real, and we participate in the evolution of love. The good is real, and we participate in the evolution of the good. But knowing, right, beauty is real, and we participate in the evolution of beauty. Right? Truth is real, and we participate in wider and deeper truths. Right? So the great traditions tried to freeze frame truth, to objectify it, to divorce it from the subject, and to say that we own the truth and no one else does, and ours is better than everyone else's. So we rebelled against that. That was a good rebellion, and that birthed the liberal world. But then we lost touch, cut flower ethics, we lost touch with the larger field of the good, the true, and the beautiful. And the good, the true, and the beautiful is an ontological reality. Right? The cosmos, right, is replete with value, and it's inherent and intrinsic value. And it goes all the way down to quarks and atoms and molecules, right, that are allured together to form larger wholes. And the cosmos has direction, has telos. Now, what does this have to do with conspiracy theories? You might want to know. Hello, wasn't this supposed to be part 4 conspiracy theories? So I want to tell you something wild. And it's so self-evidently true, but we completely miss it. So let's dive into conspiracy theories. Why are conspiracy theories so prevalent, in this particular moment in time? And I want to make a couple of distinctions again so we can be accurate and precise. Okay? So when I say conspiracy theories, let me distinguish what I mean. Because there's 2 different kinds of conspiracy theories. There are what I might call regressive conspiracy theories and progressive conspiracy theories. That's a new word. Okay, there's regressive conspiracy theories and progressive conspiracy theories. There are truth-telling conspiracy theories, which speak truth to power. And there are dogmatic conspiracy theories, right, that are actually creating new dogma. Okay, so let's make that distinction, but let's use the general term regressive, right? Conspiracy theories, they're regressing to kind of a pre-modern devil vision of the world. And there's progressive conspiracy theories, or you might even call them evolutionary conspiracy theories, which are trying to find their way to the truth. Okay, that's 1. Okay, 2, I'm going to make a second distinction. If you don't have these distinctions, we're just lost. There are local conspiracy theories, right? And by local, I mean they're addressing a local issue. So did the virus, right, come from, let me see if I can find something I want to share with you, right? Did the virus, right, did the virus come from a lab in Wuhan, China, right, that was funded, right, in part by the United States, doing appropriate, although controversial, collaborative research with American labs in North Carolina? That's a local conspiracy question, right? Meaning, were there forces that were coming together, right, to create possible cures? That's what they were doing, to create vaccines, right? And that one of those animals that was infected intentionally through very intense, right, direct intentional work that we did, right, did that animal somehow find its way, right, to the wet market, right, and did that infection therefore spread in that way? So there's an enormous amount of really good information that points in that direction. We're not 1,000% sure. There's uncertainty, but actually to try and locate and understand what happened, that's a local conspiracy theory. Does everyone get that? That's a legitimate data issue. You got to check facts. You got to understand what's happening, right? Is Anthony Fauci, right, involved in, right, just through the last 25 years in, kind of profiting from vaccines? Well, that might be true. Is that necessarily negative? Maybe not. Maybe that's legitimate, right? Maybe it's not. We don't know. But does the public in a democracy deserve to know, right, actually what's actually happening? And why did we invest millions of dollars in a P4 lab, right? And did it escape inadvertently or inadvertently? Those are fair, legitimate questions. And when you start taking off videos, right? Christina Kincaid sent me a video, like dealing with Dr. Fauci's, right, particular history in this area, and you couldn't find it. It was taken off YouTube. Now that's Dr. Fauci can respond and he can debunk it. And he may well be right. We've got to investigate the issue like we investigate everything, right? Checking facts and checking data. But you're not allowed to have the conversation. That's problematic, okay? So there are local, I'm going to call those the local conspiracy theories, which, right, we have to check what's their agenda. Is their agenda legitimate fact-finding, or do they have a covert agenda? So we got to check the information ecology. And whenever there's someone's, right, looking and investigating, are they investigating to find the truth? Or are they investigating for some complete other reason, for a set of agendas that are actually hidden? Those are fair questions. Okay, great. Now, it's also fair, right, to, check into, for example, right, all of the complex sets of operations, right, that are going on, right, in the Trump administration, right? So you can't actually dismiss the Robert Mueller, right, investigation, right, as a witch hunt. He's actually asking legitimate questions, which actually need to be asked. That's also a local conspiracy theory, meaning we're looking at a local set of facts and trying to understand what really happened. But that's a legitimate, right? Now you can claim that that has hidden agendas. Okay, so we got to look at that issue, but it's a legitimate, you can't dismiss that, right? You get both sides. Those are legitimate local conspiracy theories. That's not what we're talking about. That's not the conversation that's central here. The central conversation here is, and let me maybe perhaps say just one more thing, just to give you an example. There is a film that went around YouTube, a 26-minute, film called Plandemic. Plandemic was made by Mickey Willis. I don't know Mickey well. We've, I think, spoken once on the phone, exchanged a couple of emails, but I don't know him well. Right? He's doing good work in general in the world. It was with a particular virologist. It was a controversial virologist. Went for 26 minutes. If you watch it, it's very clear, right? And if you do some research, that they're making a sincere attempt, right, to try and bring forth some very, very real and very troubling issues. Now, that's a legitimate conversation. You can challenge that conversation. You don't have to accept Plandemic on face value. But I just want you to check for a second. This is the New York Times, right, commenting on Plandemic, right? I want you to just listen carefully. This is the New York Times commenting on Plandemic, right? An article by Shira Ovid, or Ovid. I apologize, Shira, if I pronounce your name wrong. Here's how she comments on Plandemic. Sometimes the online cesspool makes me want to scream my head off. Millions of people have watched an online video that recycled discredited health conspiracies into a slick documentary. The success of the video, a documentary called Plandemic, right? It's pushing a baseless conspiracy, using online savvy. It's unleashing misinformation goulash. The internet companies couldn't prevent its spread. It's a blockbuster movie campaign, right? It's garbage peddling showmen, right? It's garbage peddling snowmen, right? Showmen by a fringe group of people. Now, let me ask you a question. Is that a respectful review of pandemic? It's not, right? What it is, it's a demonization of pandemic. Beware for demonizations, right? In other words, when the New York Times, which is the official organ, right, of, New York Times, Washington Post, of the liberal community, says that pandemic, right, made by, and this is important, made by Mickey Willis. He's a credible, good, decent human being. He's definitely not a right-wing Trump troll. He's a complete liberal, right? I know that about Mickey, right? He's a kind of profound liberal, right? He's not a garbage peddling showman. Right? That's not true. Okay, so you got to be careful here, right? So that's the first kind of conspiracy theory, what I'm calling a local conspiracy theory, when it's dismissed, right? When Christina sends me, right, a video and it's taken off YouTube, right? When the purveyors, right, of, right, possibly legitimate issues are not allowed hearing, and they're called garbage peddling showmen by the New York Times, right, in an official New York Times tech column, that's problematic, right? That means that something's not right here, okay? So that's one form of conspiracy that we got to look at. That's not our topic today, okay? That's not our topic today. Our topic is the second kind of conspiracy theory, because the second one is actually, as and perhaps even far more important. And the second kind of conspiracy theory is what I would call a global conspiracy theory. It's not local, it's a global conspiracy theory. And it's talking not about a local set of issues, it's talking about the nature of what's going on, what's the big picture in reality, what's happening behind the scenes, not in a particular set of issues. You get that? It's not about Dr. Fauci, the virus, the source of the virus, right? Corruption, right, in the Trump administration, right, which is legitimate, influenced by Russia in the elections. Those were all legitimate issues. They can't be dismissed, for example, by President Trump as a witch hunt. That's not fair. That's actually wrong, right? And when the press is doing its legitimate job, right? Okay, wow. So we got to look at now. So those are legitimate, but now we got to look at, okay, right, broader, right, world conspiracy theories, right? Not local conspiracy theories, but global conspiracy theories. Now, global conspiracy theories, right, of the kind told, let's say, by David Icke. There's one example of those kind. Right? There's another form that are told by QAnon, right? That's very, very different, right? But they share lots of similar features, although they're very, very different in quality, right? On many, many levels, right? Global conspiracy theories, that's a whole different story, okay? Now, why are global conspiracy theories, right, so prevalent today? Okay, why at this moment in time is there this enormous, conspiracy theories have been around for a long time. Global conspiracy theories that are actually arguing for a view of the world, for example, what both of these most famous conspiracy theories in America, at least, share, right, and in Great Britain, is that there's a global elite, that elite is pulling the strings, right, some version, right, of an Illuminati, right, they're moving the world, let's say in the Icke's version, they're moving the world towards an AI-dominated reality, and there's this conspiracy, people conspiring, getting together for evil, which is how the dictionary defines conspiracy. Okay, did everyone get that? The way the dictionary defines conspiracy is people are getting together for evil purposes, for a nefarious purpose. So there's this conspiracy behind the scenes, which is this global elite, right? And they're actually heightening the death toll in the pandemic, right, in order to, right, increase the obliteration of freedoms, right, in order to create the need for universal basic income, in order to make people dependent on the government, that will then make them more easily controlled by the larger AI, which will force them into, right, getting in, what are they called? They're getting biometric sensors under the skin, which will make them nanobots in a broader AI, effacing and destroying human freedom, right? And those are basic storylines that exist clearly in the major kind of global conspiracy theories. Now, why are those conspiracy theories happening? Why are they so powerful? And they're powerful for three reasons, okay? And this is really important, right? Maybe let's call it four reasons. right? One is, and I want to be really clear about this, right? All their facts are wrong, but they get something right. In other words, what the conspiracy theories are saying that's right is the information ecology is broken. Now, I'm not going to review the talk we talked about 2 weeks ago about broken information ecologies. And I'm certainly not the only person talking about broken information ecologies, right? Sam Harris has talked about it, very intelligently, right? Jordan Hall has talked about it, very beautifully. Daniel Schmachtenberger, my dear friend, has talked about it very beautifully, right? Zach Stein and I are in a constant conversation about it, right? But we've approached it in a very particular way. We've actually understood it. They're talking about it, more from a technical structural point of view. We've talked about it from a much deeper structural view, which is intimacy is information, right? Information is information. It's right, which is the intimate structure of cosmos, right? When the human being, right, the free human being participates in bringing disparate parts into a larger whole, the human being is informing, creating new intimacies, and that's what information is. So therefore, the broken information ecology is a violation of the core sense of being in an intimate universe, and it's a violation of the intimacy that lives and breathes in me, right? It's a violation of the intimate universe that lives in me, right? When I'm misinformed, I'm deformed. That there's a violation of my essential interior. So that's part of the legitimate critique of conspiracy theories. What they're sensing is the information ecology is broken. They're sensing a violation, and they're mad at Shira Ovid in the tech column, who doesn't actually take on Mickey Willis. And let's take him on sincerely, and let's critique him sincerely, and let's show where he's wrong, which is legitimate. Instead, they call him a cesspool, right? And call him a fringe group of people, and call him discredited, and the doctor he brings on as discredited and garbage peddling showman, right? So there's a certain point in which the classical mainstream media, right, has gotten away with this kind of thing that Shira Ovid did, and that's not okay. That's not okay. There's a sense of no, you can't just dismiss people that way. You can't just label people as garbage peddling showmen and cover up the broken information ecology. That's a big deal. I had a very deep encounter with the New York Times, right? When the New York Times wrote an article about me, and at some point we'll write a chapter in some book about what happened there, but the process of corruption that I experienced directly firsthand, right, in dealing with the process of the New York Times and the set of lies that a New York Times reporter documented and recorded phone calls told me, lie after lie, was shocking, right? And hiding the fact of his ulterior agenda and who he was associated with and how he'd gotten enrolled by various forces, were a complete set of lies, which was actually a shocking experience, right? It was like, wow, right? So actually the reliance I share, and we all should share, Sam Harris has pointed out very beautifully, we all should share the outrage, right, that fuels, right, those of us who feel and consent into the broken information ecology. It's broken, and it's a violation of the deepest nature of an intimate universe. That's where conspiracy theories get something right. That's really important. You can't just dismiss them. And they get an enormous amount terribly wrong. And we've talked about in detail why, how they jump from partial truths to whole truths, how they jump into their own dogmatic fundamentalism, how they jump into projecting the devil on a group of people that they don't know and have never met and don't have information to support that with, right? So there's lots of huge breakdowns in conspiracy theories, right? That's absolutely true, but it's deeper than that. And we've talked about that in previous weeks in great depth, so I won't recapitulate it here. But it's deeper than that. And this is what we got to at the end of last week. It's much deeper. The reason a conspiracy theory is so powerful today is because we've lost touch with the gorgeous conspiring of reality itself. Reality is conspiring. And it's not by accident that the word conspiracy in the dictionary, to breathe together, is to breathe together for a negative cause. Because we've actually lost touch with the fact that reality is a great conspiring. It's a great conspiring. And if you want to inspire people, as Barack Obama did, right, in that commencement address, you inspire people by inviting them to participate in the great conspiring of reality, right? And the great conspiring of reality is the greatest story ever told. And maybe Kirsten, if you have a second, right? Zohar, take a look. There's a set of 19 podcasts that Barbara Marx Hubbard and I made, which we called The Greatest Story Ever Told, which is on the Center for Integral Wisdom site. And it's actually the realization that reality is not a fact, it's a story. And it's going somewhere. Reality is driven by love. And it's driven, right, not by love as a social construction. The universe feels, and the universe feels love. Love is not hard to find. Love is impossible to avoid. And wow. And yes, love needs to evolve. Of course it does. And love needs to evolve beyond only loving the in-group and in placing everyone else in the out-group, which was the ethnocentric expression of love. So we have to participate in the evolution of love, right? We have to be, it's not only that we had the ancient great religions, we have to create greater religions or greater world spiritualities or greater global communions, right, of pioneering souls, right? Or one church, which is many paths, but one mountain. And one mountain means there's a shared set of truths. And the shared set of truth is that we're all participating, right, in this greatest story ever told. And this greatest story ever told has two dimensions to it. One is there's value, there's intrinsic value in cosmos. Cosmos is not contrived value. It's not a social construction, right? Everything that Barack Obama said, right, in that speech, right, is actually deconstructed, right, by all of postmodernism, the entire academy in the United States, which is why the students at the private school I went to don't buy it, right? They're the best teachers in the world. They don't buy it because they say it's all made up. It's all a social construction. No, it's not a social construction. Yes, there's an evolving of values. Yes, we participate in the evolution of values. Yes, Barack Obama's right to call the next generation to its part in writing the next chapter in the story. But we're not ripping up the book. You're not writing the whole story yourself, right? Barack, you're not just an old guy. You're an elder. Give us a transmission. Let's reclaim the good, the true, and the beautiful, right, as real ontologies in cosmos. Let's reclaim love, right, as, right, a real ontology in cosmos that's real. And it's not contrived, right? So that's a whole different story. So the eros of reality means, number one, there's real meaning in cosmos. It's not contrived. It's not just merely subjective. No, it's that our subjectivity, the infinite subjectivity of the human being, meets the infinite. Human subjectivity participates in the subjectivity of cosmos. What does that mean? Subjectivity means interiority. Subjectivity means feeling, right? So human feeling participates in the larger feeling of cosmos. My feeling of love, right, participates in the universal love story. And my love story is chapter and verse in the universal love story. And I'm needed by all that is. Do you get that? I'm needed by all that is. And that experience I have of being alive when I'm needed is not just a evolutionary psychology leftover, right, which is transmitted to us by the most paper-thin writings of the most shallow forms of evolutionary psychology that seek to reduce all value to a social construction. Evolutionary psychology meets postmodernism. But actually, there are real values, and we are actually needed. And our interior, deepest sense of reality actually takes us to something that's important and true. We have to check it, right, with other people. We've got to get a shared sense, right? We've got to create a collective intelligence. What are the shared values that we share, right? What's the shared story that we participate in? What's the shared realization that you're actually an irreducibly unique expression of the field of love intelligence, right, who was intended by reality, right? That's what a 16-year-old needs to hear, not because it's a contrivance, because it's true. And anything less will leave their soul broken and empty and violated, right? Anything less is misinformation. Anything less is a deformation of the essential inner nature of the human being. No, you're not just a random aggregate, right, of molecules that could have been or could not have been, right, with no ultimate meaning. No, you participate in the meaning structure of cosmos. And your dignity is that you're a creator of meaning within the larger frame of meaning. And yes, next generation, you have a next chapter to write in the larger scroll of the book of life, in which every generation has contributed something meaningful and good and true. And yes, we're participating in the evolution of love, but it's the evolution of love, and we're not creating it, right? Love is real, right? Love is not hard to find. Right? Love is impossible to avoid. Purpose is not hard to find. Purpose is impossible to avoid. And when I live a life without purpose, I feel denuded. And that's the second quality, right, of reality. Reality is filled with eros. Eros has value, intrinsic value. It has content and meaning. And Eros has telos, it has direction. And so you as a young person, you have direction. And your direction matters, and your choices matter ultimately, not just because it's going to attract people into your orbit, and not because people are just going to gravitate you, so you're going to be more successful. And it's not just these values will last and work pragmatically, but they're participating in the value proposition of cosmos. We live in a cosmo-erotic universe. And Eros is the movement that brings together separate parts into wider wholes, into greater intimacies. And you as a human being, in which the intimate universe is alive, because all of reality, all quarks and all molecules and all atoms and all interior structures of meaning, right? And all organisms and all organelles, exterior and interior, live in you. And you've got to first receive it all. Did you get that? You got to first receive it all. You need to get a transmission of it all. We need to share with you. We've destroyed the canon. There is no more canon. The canon's just dead white males. No, the canon's not just dead white males. First off, dead white males are not bad per se. It's not bad to be white. It's not bad to be male. It's not so bad to be dead because there's a continuity of consciousness. And of course, we need to augment the canon. We need to deepen the canon. We need to widen the canon. And we need to bring in the voices of the feminine. We need to reclaim indigenous wisdom. Of course we do. But there's a canon, right? There's a shared story, right? There's a shared global coherence. There's a shared global narrative. And the reason there's no coherence in responding to COVID, either within the United States or around the world, is because there's no shared narrative. There's no shared story. A shared story is a new configuration of intimacy. But when there's a global intimacy disorder, then coherence breaks down. And then 70,000 people die of COVID who didn't need to die of COVID. So they died struggling with their last breath, and they're still struggling today in New York, right? And in Italy, and in different places around the United States, and in Bangladesh. They're still struggling to breathe in this very second because we couldn't actually create a shared vision of value because we deconstructed all value and got stuck. And evolution stalled. Right? You get that? So that's where a conspiracy theory comes from. A conspiracy theory comes from when I don't actually participate in the knowing that reality is conspiring. And my very breath is part of that great conspiring of reality. Right? Then I lose my Eros. Then Eros breaks down. And Eros breaks down. Does everyone get that? When Eros breaks down, right, then there's this profound emptiness. And then pseudo-Eros steps in its wake. And pseudo-Eros can be every form of acting out an addiction, every form of breakdown, every form of, right, ethical destruction. That's one form of pseudo-Eros. But there's a second form of pseudo-Eros. And the second form of pseudo-Eros is if there's no shared story, which is authentic, and which actually is aligned and attuned to my interior sense of intimacy, and to my interior sense of goodness, truth, and beauty, well, I'm going to make up a story, right? That's what the brain does. When the brain meets reality and it has no pattern that can appropriately address reality, we know from neuroscience, right, the brain actually spins a false story. Wow, right? So at this moment of pandemic, which is a moment which is a plandemic, whether or not the particular facts were accurate or inaccurate, let's check the facts, right? But it is a plandemic. It's a plandemic which at its root is an infodemic. And the infodemic is rooted in a global intimacy disorder. And the global intimacy disorder causes a global action paralysis, okay? So you can dismiss me, and you can say I'm too excited about this, and you can say you don't like my hair, and you can say you don't like the way I talk. Okay, so great, dismiss me. But hear what we're saying here. This is important, right? Conspiracies, right, emerge as a form of pseudo-Eros when we lose touch with the greatest story ever told. Did you get that? That's wildly important. That's important beyond imagination, right? So we've got to reclaim Eros, right? Wow. Okay, it's like, wow. So it's now 12:08. We're going to hold here. We're going to hold here. We did a lot. We'll go the next and final step next week. We'll try and put this all together. And we'll talk about, right, where exactly and why the conspiracies go wrong, and why the simple principles are wrong, and how we replace them with the better set of simple principles around everything. Better, not because they're dogmatically better, but because they're actually validated by reality. Okay? Now, I want to say something difficult and painful at the end, which I owe you in terms of integrity. And I'm sad to have to say this, right? But it's my integrity owing to you. Okay? So I said about David Icke, wow, what a great guy, right? You know, he's really trying hard, right? And I'm sure David has lots of sincerity, and he's been at this for 30 years, but I got to take back the great guy. I'm sorry to do this, right? Because I've actually listened more extensively this week, not to anything that anyone said about David Icke, right? But to what he said himself. And David is talking about, and this is where conspiracy theories, this is where pseudo-eros goes wrong, right? You can't hold the emptiness. You put parts together, but you make huge leaps, and those leaps are not legitimate. So David Icke is talking about the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, which is a Russian forgery in the 19th century, which was used by Joseph Goebbels, right, time and again, who was the Nazi minister of propaganda, to justify concentration camps. The Protocols of the Elders of Zion, which talked about this elite group of Jews, right, who were actually running the world behind the scenes for the sake of world domination. And he talks about it not once, not twice, right? He speaks about Israel as a large concentration camp, right? Not once, not twice. It's part of his regular, right, pitch. That's not okay. That's not okay. Right? Do I believe David Icke when he says, I'm not an anti-Semite? I believe that's what he thinks. But you can't actually call Israel the only democracy in the Middle East, right? In which women vote, in which the Arabs and Jews work together at Hadassah Hospital gorgeously, right? Israel, which is threatened in its very existence. Now, is Israel always right? Of course not. Does Israel make mistakes? Of course it does. But Israel's a concentration camp, and you're going to support, right, divestment and boycott of Israel, and you're going to skip Egypt and Jordan and Syria, and you're going to say that the Protocols of the Elders of Zion is true, that there's a worldwide conspiracy of reality dominated by Jews, right, or Jews and other people, and it's not okay. It's not okay. This is where conspiracy theories go wrong, and it's my integrity with all of you, right? And I'm regretful to say this. It makes me immeasurably sad, and I want to invite you, David. This is an invitation. If I got this wrong, David, right? If I misunderstood you, you're invited. Let's do a dialogue. Let's talk about it. Right? Let's talk about how to take, the fierce integrity in what you're saying and split it off, right, from the terrible, 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 racist, horrific, right, anti-Semitism using virtually the same words used by Nazi propaganda ministers. Not okay. See, this is where conspiracy theories go wrong. Okay? So that's important. That's important. So notice what we're doing here. Conspiracy theories are responding to an emptiness. Right? They're a form of pseudo-eros. Their original motivation is based on the de-eroticization of the world, the loss of the eros of the great story, of the great conspiring. When we don't participate in the great conspiring, the only thing left, right, is the conspiracy theory. But then the conspiracy theory goes wrong because it's not rooted. It becomes its own form of dogma, its own form of fundamentalism, right? And it goes south very quickly. So we've got to go out of conspiracy theory and into a great conspiring, right? We've got to invite David to the table. And, David, let go of that stuff, right? Disavow it. And then take your seat at the table as a powerful agent for change, right? Wow, right? Huge respect for your work, right? Like it's a big deal. So, wow. So welcome, everyone. And I just want to say, I have such huge respect for President Obama. And I thank him for, allowing, and I'm sure he'd be excited, right, to hear the challenge. And I invite President Obama, right, who's obviously a very, very different kind of figure, right? He's been a mainstream figure and he's given his life to public service, right? In his way, I invite him to have a conversation about first principles. Let's reclaim first principles. Let's go deeper than a kind of shallow, insipid liberalism, right? You were right, Mr. President. The truth does live in us. We got to show that that's true. We got to ground that in interior sciences. We got to ground that, right, in a shared story, right? Don't just be the old guy, right? Be an elder, right? Inspire us with the great conspiring of reality. Let's read wider and let's go deeper, right? Oh my God. Wow. Right. So thank you, everyone. Right. Big huge yes. big, big, huge, wild, right? Insane. Yes. And I just want to also just thank everyone, right? Oh my God, I just can't believe that, right? I mean, so many people, almost everybody stayed with us. So thank you. That was like so gorgeous of you and so beautiful of you and so appreciated. We are revolutionaries together. We are doing the subversive act of claiming hope together. And hope is a memory of the future. Hope is a memory of the future. It's the shared story that we can all live in, we can all be in. So wild love, wild, outrageous love, deepest bow to you. And it's my deepest privilege to have the honor of having these conversations with you.